Hello, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live. We're here at Fox Sports headquarters, and I'm joined by the one and only Utah Jazz point guard, Boomers point guard, Australia's own Dante Exum. Dante, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
I'm Olgun Uluc. I am the senior basketball reporter here at Fox Sports Australia. Again, this is a Facebook Live, so any questions you have, make sure to throw them down there. We'll get to as many as we can. As they start to trickle in, though, Dante, just a few quick ones. Obviously, welcome back to Australia. It's good to have you back here. What have been your thoughts so far on, being in Melbourne, being part of, the Boomers process? I know you're not on the team as far as the actual campaign, but you're a Boomer as well. What's it been like to be back here during all this hoopla?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been out of this world. I don't even know how to explain it. Just the reception I've got, like going to the both games in Melbourne, has been unbelievable. Just the amount of fans that we have in Melbourne. It's just been unbelievable. I want to thank all of them for coming out. It's been great for me.
So when you see the fans that came out, more than 50,000 on both nights, how much pride does that give you to be, Australian and a Boomer and to represent Australia in future tournaments?
Yeah, we don't have to play in these tournaments, as everyone kind of knows, and it's just the pride that we want to play for our country, and then just to have the amount of people behind us that want to play, that want to watch us and support us. It's just unbelievable.
So the Boomers picked up a win over Team USA. It was something that, we weren't really expecting, but it was something that was a really pleasant surprise for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. You were out there. What was the sort of vibe around Marvel Stadium? Yeah,
I want to say I was fully expecting it. I think we have the talent to, beat the USA. And, as we did, I thought in the first game we kind of let them go a little bit, and that's what the USA does in the third quarter. But we played them very well, made adjustments, and that's what the pre-games are for. Just finding ourselves and finding what we do best as a team, and we were able to come away with the win.
So everyone talks about the culture of the team. How did you see that play out, and how do you think that can be something that leads the Boomers through this World Cup campaign against a lot of teams who are missing a lot of players, especially this Team USA team?
Yeah, I think for us it's been important to keep that team culture. Just because one guy can step up another night and it could be another guy. We don't need guys to have great nights every night for us to win. I think that's the most important thing for our team. We have team leaders that have played, for the Boomers and FIBA competitions that will be able to lead us through the tournament. They've been in that third place game in the Olympics. They were so close, so they're very hungry for a medal.
So Australia, Group H, Canada, Lithuania, Senegal. How do you put Australia's chances? Because if they get through that round, they're probably going to play France, Germany, one of those teams. How do you think Australia can go? I know you're going to be optimistic, but from like an analytical standpoint, put that sort of hat on. How do you reckon they can go?
No, I think they can go well. Obviously, we played Canada in the first two lead-up games, and we lost one of them. It was the first game that they had been together as a team. Canada had played a few. Lithuania is a great nation for basketball. That's going to be a tough game. But I fully expect us to make it out of pool play. France is going to be one of the best teams in the competition, and it will be tough, but we can stick it out and win.
So as Facebook questions keep trickling in, and obviously don't forget to ask your questions, we threw it out on Twitter earlier, so we have some questions from some Twitter fans. So I'll start with this one from Angus Livingston. Now he asked, do you feel as though you get enough opportunities in Utah, and do you feel as though there's a tighter leash on you than other players?
That's a very good question, actually. It's a very good. I think I've had this conversation with my coach many times, and it's just the expectation of me is so high when I go in, and I like to hold myself to a high standard as well. So yeah, I might have a tighter leash, but I expect myself to go in there and hold myself to that standard.
So following on that, how is your relationship with Quinn Snyder, and how's it grown over the course of your development in the league as well?
Yeah, I actually have a great relationship with Quinn. He hates it when I call him Quinn, coach. I have a great relationship. In the first couple of years, he was definitely the hardest on me. There's a story, me and Joe love to tell. It was one time Joe made a mistake in practice, and coach just ripped me for it. And even Joe went to coach and said, hey, like it was my fault, and then coach still just ripped me. So, but no, it's just, I think I've kind of learned to how he coaches and what he expects, and he's just a coach that wants the best for all these players and wants to get the best out of me, and I want that too, so I respect it.
So another question from the same person is, what makes you such an effective on-ball defender of elite players? And then to follow on that, how do you feel when a star player passes off rather than trying to take you on? So we saw that against James Harden at the 2 playoffs ago. You know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think with me, I'm like 6'6", I'm long, I'm quick as well. I'm able to keep up with him, and then I think going into that series against James Harden, it was just about, okay, he's gonna try and do his stuff and just make him uncomfortable at every chance I can get. Those star players, they've gotten so good at just being comfortable, and anything I can do to change it up and make him uncomfortable is going to work in my favor.
So, you talk about guarding those sorts of players. When you look at the Jazz's roster right now, you think there's a lot of guards on that team. There's not as much wing depth. Is that something that you've maybe spoken to coach about, playing more on the wing, guarding, and on the offensive end too? Yeah,
no. Coming in, I was, adamant about being a point guard and going in, and I still am and still want to be. But I'm fighting for minutes. I want minutes, and I think for me going forward, the best thing is just being on the court. Our offense has developed into whoever gets the rebound or the outlet and just run. So I'm really good in transition, running the floor and with the ball. So wherever I can get it, it works for me.
So I guess following on from more about your time with the Jazz. This question is from Adam Ryluski, also from Twitter. What's your full game day schedule like? From the moment you wake up to the moment you, I guess, get changed and get back on the bus to go home. What's that series like for you?
Yeah, game day is actually a full day. We always have shoot-arounds, and when we do, it's we try and get in and get out as quick as possible. But sometimes you need to take care of your body. You might get we always do correctives to kind of warm up. Then we have our shoot-around. We go through our personnel of the team, and then that can go anywhere from, we always start at 10, and then we could be done at 12, out of there probably like 12:30, and then it's back, have a nap. Game day nap's the key, for me at least.
What's your pre-game meal?
My pre-game meal? I try to change it up, but I always try and, get like a chicken or a pasta, just something a little bit light, just to kind of get me through. And then it's off to the game, and then I get there around 5 o'clock for a 7:30 start and shoot around, and then game time.
So we have a question from Aussie Utah Jazz fan, a very fitting name considering who you are. How much weight, muscle have you put on? It's a broad question, but I guess since you entered the league, and maybe even just this offseason too.
Yeah, I think they still have me listed as 190. So.
Oh, God.
No, I've seen it in a few programs. They still have me listed at 190. But no, I put on a lot of muscle coming in. One of the things when you're injured, definitely when it's a leg injury, all you can really do is lift upper body. Yeah. And that's something, I've taken pride in trying to do. Whatever I can to get better, while I'm injured.
So we have a question from, oh God, I've turned that on. We have a question from Jed Wells. Now, this is an interesting one considering you've just bought a stake in the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Now, do you see yourself doing something a la Andrew Bogut as far as potentially joining the NBL at the end of your career?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that is a long way away, the end of my career. But no, I think the NBL is just going in such a good direction. Hopefully by the time they don't want an old guy coming on the end of the bench. But hopefully it's I can stay in the NBA for as long as possible and give a few years back when I come back.
So speaking of the NBL, we've got a question on Facebook from Dante Juan Pablo, another Dante. He asks, what are your thoughts on young talents coming to the NBL to develop their skills before moving on to the NBA, and how will this impact the NBL? So I assume he's talking about guys like LaMelo Ball, RJ Hampton, Terry Armstrong. What do you think about, the Next Stars program, and the role it serves, I guess, in being a pathway to the NBA?
Yeah, no, I think it's great, not only for them as players, but for the league. In high school, they have a lot of hype coming around them, and people want to see how they go against professionals. And then not only that, a lot of NBA scouts. I've talked to our scouts at the Jazz, and they're all talking about their trips that they're coming down to Australia to watch, some of our games. So I think just in that regard, it helps our league grow, and then it brings more attention to us. And then for them, they're playing against men. The NBL is not easy, and I think they'll find out quick. And it's going to help them develop and just get into a pro mindset and just be around pro guys.
So for you as a professional as well, if someone like LaMelo Ball, someone who has his sort of stature and his following on social media, things like that, or RJ Hampton, who's, he's still putting on some size, if they went up against someone like you, for someone who's been around a little bit longer than them, what's your mindset if you had to match up against guys like that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, going into a pro setting, guys are trying to get paid. They're going for contracts, and, it's a dog-eat-dog world. So you're going out, trying to, it's not high school anymore. So, I'm picking them up full 90, and I'm working them, trying to get steals. And, as you said, I'm trying to get them so they don't want to bring the ball up the floor anymore. That's a win for me.
Yeah. Speaking of, young talent, I want to ask you about the young talent in the Boomers and the guys who are going to be coming up. So you look at yourself and Ben and Jonah, and then even down the line, you've got Josh Green, guys like that. How excited are you about the Boomers' future, considering, that kind of wealth of talent that's coming through?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be great in the years to come. A lot of people are talking about this is the peak for the Boomers, and, this is our chance to finally get a medal. But I think in the years to come, we're going to be challenging for medals every year. We're going to be expected to win medals, and that's what we want as a nation. And even following some of the EMUs and the under-17 programs, they're winning medals down there. So the talent is definitely going to be around for a while in Australian basketball. Does
that give you even more excitement, considering Australia just beat the USA without yourself, without Ben Simmons, without Jonah, without Thon Maker, what this team could be in the future? How do you see the trajectory of Australian basketball right now?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I think we're going to be a nation that every year is going to be challenging for medals, and hopefully it's gold medals every year. I think we're in talks. We're definitely in talks for this year to challenge for a medal. But yeah, definitely in the future it's going to be bright for us.
So we have a question here from Clinton James Hill. So it says, Dante, what are your thoughts on Ben Simmons? Now we're going to take that extremely broadly and just ask, just generally, his rise from his rookie season to where he is now, where he's just signed that max, rookie scale contract extension. What do you make of how quickly he's risen and, where he potentially could go?
Yeah, Ben, obviously great player, but he came into the league and had to take the year off, and I felt that helped him a lot in just being able to be around professionals and kind of learn the game. And he sees the game differently, just at his size and his position and what he does on the court. But yeah, he can be a really, really good player for years to come. And I know, he didn't play in these games, and he's going to be focusing on Philly. So, I hope they have a good year this year. We're 0-2 against them, so we're keeping tally. But they've got a good team this year, and I think he's going to be a guy that's as he signed that max. He needs to step up and be there every night. That's what's expected.
So, you talk about Ben not playing in this World Cup. One of the things that we always hear about is guys spending the off-season, in LA or wherever it is, working on their bodies, working on their development, working with their respective NBA teams. For those who don't know, how important is something like that? Being able to focus completely on yourself as opposed to, for example, like a World Cup campaign.
Yeah, no, so I work out in LA every off season, and it's been, the best thing for my development. I think, so many guys come to LA, you see it's like LA, New York, but LA is kind of where I've been, and there's, you can go into any gym and there's NBA guys working. And just to kind of be around that mindset of seeing guys work and how they work, it just elevates your game and wants you to makes you want to work harder. And then the pickup games and the runs, just to go in, be on different guys' teams, see how they play, what they do, and then try things new. For me, it's always trying to, jump shots and coming off the dribble, seeing different things, playing with different players, because our rosters change every year, even during the season. So sometimes you have to make quick adjustments, and that helps, playing with different guys.
So we have a question on Facebook from Jason. This is a fun one. Out of all the players you've played against, who's the best banter on the court? Now, we say played against because I'm sure Joe would give you a bunch of stuff, but played against, who has the best banter, trash talk, whatever?
Yeah, well, Joe Ingles. I mean, he's a good one. He's always in people's ears. But I think probably Patrick Beverley.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. And it's not that he's trash talking, but he's just such a competitor. Someone that is going to pick you up. He's going to clap in your face. He's going to, hustle every possession. That's one guy. He even did it when I played pickup against him.
Really?
He was picking up full court. He's something else.
So, speaking about, relationships with other NBA players, things like that, we've got a question here from Sheng Shi. This one's from Twitter. It's, who's the coolest NBA player, past or present, you have in your contacts?
Kobe.
Okay.
Yeah, no, 100%. Kobe.
So, okay, now
that's self-explanatory.
So we have another question. This is from Jacob. And I guess Patrick Beverley was one, but the question is, who's the toughest player you've matched up against?
Toughest? I mean, Patrick Beverley.
How about guys you've guarded?
Guys I've guarded. I mean, James Harden is just a tough one. I think, a lot of people ask me this question, and I've thought about it a lot. You have your Steph Currys and your Westbrooks, but I think, James Harden's just, he puts you on an island, and that's the toughest thing. You have no help. It's not coming off an on ball. It's you and him and ISO ball, and if you play good defense, he's going to do a step back and hit a shot in your face. So, I mean, it doesn't get any tougher than that. So
we've got a question, another one from Sheng. He asks, having been in the NBA now for a few seasons and having a taste of playoff games, where do you feel, now where is your ceiling, is what this is trying to say, as far as how much you can contribute to an NBA team?
I think I can contribute a lot, not just defensively. That's kind of where I've been strongest to this point, but offensively, I can be good in transition and just getting out and starting to break high. And I think, just having someone like Rudy on our team and just putting him in pick and roll with me, it becomes a simple game when you kind of break it down with having someone that like Rudy who's able to roll and dunk the ball like he's able to, and throw a shooter in the corner. It becomes a simple game.
So, you talk about Rudy. Let's talk about your team for a little bit, because you guys made some interesting off-season, adjustments. Mike Conley came in. You've got Bogdanovic coming in, Emmanuel Mudiay as well, and Rudy stayed there. Joe Ingles stayed there. So, how do you see as far as the prospects of your team, and do you think it's a team that could potentially go all the way?
Yeah, I think we have a great team. And it's not just on paper everyone's good all around, but I think everyone's a good person, and everyone's gonna gel well together. I've already worked out with Mike Conley and Mudiay, and it's just all guys that want to work and get better, and we're all team guys. As long as we're winning, everyone's happy. I think whenever you have that type of mentality on an NBA team, it's the best thing.
So adding a guy like Mike Conley, who has playoff experience, Rudy Gobert, and the entire team basically has that. Bogdanovic is coming off a really good playoff series too. How do you think that can help your team moving forward?
Yeah, it's going to help us a lot. I think going into it was 2 years ago, we played the Clippers in the first round, and we actually won the series. We had Joe Johnson on our team, and he was a great addition for us just because he had that experience of being there and knowing what to do, and he was able to kind of lead us through that series, and it's helped us get that experience that we needed so that now we can kind of take that next step for ourselves.
So for you personally, I know you worked out in Southern California again this off-season. What's been the focus for you? Obviously recovering first, but after that, what's been a goal for you this off-season and something you've been working on?
Yeah, obviously rehab's been the main priority, making sure I'm 100% healthy before I return to the court. For me, the health is just, I need to get that down, however I can. But jump shots, that's kind of the thing I've been able to do for most of this off season. Just making sure I get that consistency, and I think hopefully I can add a pull-up game to my game this year. I think it's going to be beneficial for me, being able to get downhill when I can, and when bigs want to sag off and play me for the rim, I'm able to pull up. It would just add that different element of my game.
So that's the on-court perspective. You say you're still rehabbing and things like that. How important is the mental side of the game for you as far as learning to overcome adversity and focusing on your mentality?
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing to do. Definitely the position and some of the stuff I've had to go through, handling all the injuries and having to go through those full days. Rehabbing and then go and watch a game where I can't play. It's definitely been hard, but I think I hold on to the hope that I'm going to be out there, playing a full 82 game season healthy, and when there's someone else that's injured, I'm able to talk to them and say things will get better type thing. So I think that's what gets me through.
We have a question here from Jonathan on Facebook. It's who's the best young Aussie prospect coming up? And a follow on that is, do you reckon the NBA will be littered with more Australians going forward?
I hope so. I think, I'm hoping, Jock Landale. I think, he was great at Summer League this past year, and I think he's going to be kind of the next one that's going to be able to, push again into the NBA. I know he's going back over to Europe, and I think this Boomers experience will help him, be around some of the Aussie guys that are in the NBA. And then obviously, Josh Green, he's a great player. Is he going to college this year?
Yeah, he's going to Arizona this year.
Yeah, Arizona. So, it would be good to, follow his progress and see where he goes, because I know he's going to be in the NBA soon.
I know you're sort of the same age as Jock Landale. How impressed have you been, and are you surprised at all with his rise up the Boomers ranks to the point where he's now, the starting four-man, and it looks like he's going to be that going to the World Cup too?
Yeah, I actually didn't get to, because he was a Vic boy, and I actually didn't get to play with him. But he went to St. Mary's and he played, well there. And it's been good for him. I think that experience going to college and then being able to be that guy towards the end when they're going into the NCAA tournament.
So on top of that, to follow up from that, what sort of advice would you have for the younger Australians coming through? Because you had a unique experience yourself, staying at the AIS and going through that route. What's your advice to the Josh Greens of the world and the other guys that are coming through the ranks?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty general, but I think it's still important to say. It's just to keep working. You're gonna think you've reached a kind of point where you're good, or I'm gonna get drafted, or I just got to college. But there's always something you can work on. And that's the mindset I've always had. But just being in LA and you see. Working around some of like the All-Stars, they're still working on their games. So yeah, that would be.
We got a question from Brandon. It's, do you have your sights set on the Olympics in around 12 months' time? And what would an Olympic medal mean to you?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's it's always been a dream for me to play Olympics. I think just, watching it growing up, it's, the best of the best, So I think, I want to obviously be 100% healthy, throughout the season. That's my priority. And then, granted I'm healthy for the Olympics, yeah, I'm 100% putting my name forward.
How excited is it making you watching this current World Cup team, do what they do, the way they're playing together, especially that, you were there for that fourth quarter, the way they move the ball, things like that. How excited does that make you to, rejoin the Boomers?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Just to see, how Patty Mills was and Joe. I can't wait to get out there with them. And yeah, that fourth quarter at Marvel Stadium, it was unbelievable. The crowd was crazy, and it was a big stadium, and they lit it up.
So following on from that, how do you keep your Australian roots flowing? Because we see a lot of guys go over there. Some people say they become Americanized. Not that that's a bad thing, but you have to keep your Australian roots in some way. When I speak to Ben Simmons, he says it's his mum, right? She keeps those sort of Australian juices flowing. What is it for you?
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard because you are, once the season's over, we're in Salt Lake City. It snows there, and then coming back here, it's obviously the winter time. So I've always spent most of my time in LA and always come back, when I can. But my parents are still here, so I think just keeping them here and just always having a reason to come back. I'm always going to come back throughout my career, and a lot of people ask me where I'm gonna live once I'm done playing, and I always say I'm gonna live in Melbourne.
I mean, I went to Melbourne for the first time, properly this past week. It really is an incredible city. I couldn't recommend it enough. I think. Oh, here we go. We got one more. This is from Dante Exum.
What's up?
Do you see yourself starting for the Boomers next year, or do you see yourself having a role off the bench?
I mean, this is such a big thing that's always been asked. Like, are you a starter? Are you going to be a starter? I think, going into it, I always had that mindset. I want to be a starter. I want to be a starter. But I think the biggest priority for me is to be on when the game's finishing. Just to have an impact enough that I'm going to be on there to finish the game. And it doesn't matter if you're starting or not, as long as I'm on the floor and I'm having an impact and we win. That's all that really matters, really.
So, on top of that, I think back to when you're in the, FIBA Under-19 tournament, right, dropping 35 points and, having a really incredible individual showing. What's the transition like, for those who don't know, as far as being a really prominent player on a team and a really prominent player just in the basketball world, and then going to being, almost a role player and someone who has to take a step back? Yeah,
I mean, it's different for everybody. I think one of the perfect examples is Patty Mills. He has that role on the Spurs that he's coming off shooting. He has big nights, but they don't rely on him as much as the Boomers do to have those kind of games. He is obviously our star player, and without that fourth quarter performance, I don't think we get over the US. But it's how you kind of transition in between that and understanding your role, and that's how guys stay in the league, and those are the guys that take early exits that don't understand their roles.
We have one from Jamal here. It says, Dante, what are your power rankings for the World Cup? Now, there are 32 teams in there, so power rankings probably don't have enough time for that. Who would be the top teams that you're looking forward to seeing and that you think can win it all?
I'm looking forward to seeing Serbia. I think they have a strong team, and then also France. I think those two are kind of the big, I'd say powerhouse teams. Other than Australia, obviously. But I think those two teams, have really, good individual players, and, they come from countries that are passionate about being team players and, working as a team to win the World Cup.
So no, you sort of have to say France because of Rudy.
Oh no! If you know my relationship with France, it kills me. With Rudy, it kills me right now to say France.
So then we got a follow-up question, which is, can you give us 3 or 4 players to watch out for at the World Cup? So you got guys like Rudy. You mentioned Serbia, Nikola Jokic, and then Giannis is playing for Greece. Who are some guys who we should keep an eye on?
I mean, yeah, you said them. But definitely for France. Rudy. I know he's obviously trying to have a big impact, not just defensively, but offensively as well. I know he's trying to do that with the Jazz as well, and he's a player that's capable of. There's been a few clips of him shooting threes, which, I pray to God he does not shoot any.
So look, I feel like that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, it's really good to get your input on the World Cup and your NBA season and your rise. And obviously, we hope that you can get healthy and reach the potential that we all see. For everyone at home, if you want to watch the FIBA World Cup, every Australian Boomers game, every Team USA game is live and exclusive on Foxtel. You can also watch Fox Minis, which are sort of condensed replays of every single game on Fox Sports as well. Dante Exum, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
See you next time.